TD Bank has pleaded guilty to Bank Secrecy Act and money laundering conspiracy violations and are going to have to pay almost $2 billion in resolution. So I have my screen shared here and I'm going through this. This is from justice.gov. This is the government website, a government press release. I know I talk a lot about banks and a lot about the implications of different banking situations and why banks do things. And apparently, TD Bank was not doing their due diligence. The reason it's hard to open bank accounts is because banks need to have their procedures to make sure to gauge the risk on on opening an account, the risk that you'll do illegal stuff. So if you are from a country that they deem has a higher risk and you run a crypto business, then they're going to say you're really high risk and they're probably not going to work with you. Apparently, TD Bank wasn't doing any of this stuff. People were doing all kinds of fake companies, fake accounts, setting up all kinds of random stuff. TD Bank wasn't checking on anything. And through this article, we can read about tens of millions of dollars were laundered through TD Bank. They weren't filing currency transaction reports. People were depositing millions of dollars in the bank and they didn't file anything with FinCEN. They just didn't do anything. And they were understaffed. They grew the bank and then they didn't do anything. Now they are getting in trouble. And there's criminal stuff coming through this. I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but I want to just tie it back to all the people watching this. Is this going to make it harder to open a bank account as a foreign person in the US? I don't know if it's going to necessarily make it harder, but it's going to make the other banks and the other institutions actually review their programs. As long as you follow the correct steps, you have the right information, you're not lying on applications, and ultimately, if you're not doing criminal stuff, you shouldn't have a problem. TD Bank was allowing criminals to do criminal stuff. It's the first bank, the largest bank in history to plead guilty to bank secrecy program failures, and the first U.S. bank in history to plead guilty to conspiracy to commit money laundering. So I guess executives and people working at the bank were participating with people who were laundering money. TD Bank prioritized growth and convenience over following its legal obligations, said the U.S. attorney. They failed to monitor trillions of dollars of transactions, including those with ACH, checks, high-risk countries, peer-to-peer transactions, which allowed hundreds of millions of dollars from money laundering networks to flow through the bank, including international drug traffickers. The bank was aware of the risks and failed to do that. They dumped piles of cash on the bank counters, and another allegedly withdrew amounts from ATMs 40 or 50 times higher than the daily limits. And these are for two networks prosecuted in New Jersey and elsewhere. So I guess they were really working with the bankers, and the bankers were participating. And to some level, they made it convenient for criminals. These, 670 million went through the accounts in 2019 through 23, and one money laundering network processed more than 470 million through the bank. Employee gift cards for $57,000, and that's just crazy, you know. So I don't think this is going to necessarily make it harder to open accounts for actual legitimate business people. And I think they'll still work with foreign people. I don't think this is necessarily a foreign thing. This is really just the bank dealing with domestic stuff. TD Bank was already one of the hardest banks to open accounts for non-residents. I've never recommend clients there because for non-residents, it was one of the hardest banks to open accounts for. But I guess for Americans, it was easy to open accounts and easy to do whatever you wanted with the accounts once you got them open. So I really don't think this is going to affect you guys. I wanted to share this information because I think it's really interesting. I'll share the link to the website here. I mean, you can just search TD Bank press release and it'll just come up as number one. TD Bank was never easy to open accounts with as a non-resident. So it was never like, I was never sending clients here, but I guess apparently if you had the account open, you could do whatever you wanted. TD Bank is complying with this. I don't know anything more than you guys do. I'm just reading through this article, skimming through it, and I wanted to just comment on it, okay? So I don't think it's impossible or it's going to be harder necessarily to open bank accounts because of this, but I think it's really interesting to see if the banks do revamp their procedures. Maybe they make the procedures tighter and it makes it easier for non-residents to open accounts. It was always hard at TD Bank anyways. So I think it's really interesting. Stay tuned to the channel, like and subscribe. I don't usually do like press news stuff. I have other videos coming on like how-tos and really like to the point videos, but like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Hope this was helpful. Check it out yourself. It's really cool.